Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, Israel recovers bodies of 6 hostages, including an Israeli-American. In Gaza, polio vaccination campaign begins amid pause in fighting. Ukraine drones target an oil refinery, power plants in Moscow and Tver regions. Zelensky presses the US to greenlight deeper strikes into Russia. And China-Philippines trade barbs after ships collide in South China Sea. China says Philippines ship deliberately collided. And Kamala Harris slams Donald Trump for disrespecting sacred ground at the Arlington National Cemetery. Trump commits waiver for small amounts of marijuana. Israel has identified the bodies of 6 hostages discovered underground in a tunnel in southern Gaza Strip. As per the US President Joe Biden on Saturday, 6 bodies include that of an Israeli-American hostage, Hersh Goldberg Polin. The remains of the hostages were recovered on Saturday from an underground tunnel in Rafah in Gaza and returned to Israel, where they were formally identified. The IDF also said that they were killed just before being rescued.
בלב שבור, אנחנו עם משפחותיהם של אורי דנינו.
This morning, with a broken heart, we are with the families of Ori Danino, Alex Lobanov, Almog Sarusi, Harsh Goldberg Polin, Carmel Gate, and Eden Yerushalmi. May their memories be blessed. A few hours ago, we informed the families that the bodies of their loved ones were located by the Israeli Defense Forces in an underground tunnel in Rafah. According to the initial estimations we have, they were brutally murdered by Hamas terrorists shortly before we reached them. They were kidnapped alive on the morning of October 7 by the terrorist organization Hamas.
הם נחטפו חיים בבוקר 7 באוקטובר על ידי ארגון הטרור.
Expressing anger over the recent findings of the IDF in relation to the bodies of Israeli hostages in Gaza, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed on Sunday to settle scores with Hamas. Netanyahu, in a statement, said that Israel is committed to achieving a deal to release the remaining hostages and ensure Israel's security.
In recent days, as Israel has been holding intensive negotiations with the mediator in a supreme effort to reach a deal, Hamas is continuing to steadfastly refuse all proposals. Even worse, at the exact same time, it murdered 6 of our hostages. Whoever murders hostages does not want a deal. The fact that Hamas is continuing to perpetrate atrocities like those it carried out on October 7 requires us to do everything so that it will not be able to perpetrate these atrocities again.
US President Joe Biden said that he was devastated and outraged over the recovery of 6 bodies of hostages, including that of the Israeli-American from the Gaza Strip. Terming the development as tragic and reprehensible, Biden warned that Hamas leaders will pay for these crimes, while vowing to keep working round the clock for a deal to secure the release of remaining hostages held by the Palestinian group. The White House released a statement saying that US President Biden was outraged over the death of an American Israeli, Hersh Goldberg Polin, in Hamas captivity. As per reports, Goldberg Polin's parents had met repeatedly with US officials and other top international leaders, and recently also addressed the Democratic National Convention. In a latest, Israeli media has confirmed the death of at least 3 Israelis after their vehicle was fired upon near West Bank. Ambulances were seen at the West Bank, where a man and a woman in their mid-30s were killed in a terror attack near the Turkumie in West Bank on Sunday morning. Another individual in his 50s was also critically injured, who lost his life due to injuries in Beersheba. The Israeli Defense Forces said that terrorists had opened fire on a vehicle in Turkumie area in West Bank. The Israeli police has said that 3 people killed in Sunday's shooting attack were members of their police force. Amid all the developments, United Nations on Sunday started vaccinating children against polio in the Gaza Strip during the daily 8-hour pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas. Over 640,000 children will be covered under the campaign. The World Health Organization says that at least 90% of the children need to be vaccinated twice, with 4 weeks between doses for the campaign to succeed. Last week, a baby was paralyzed by type 2 poliovirus, the first such case in the Gaza Strip in 25 years.
Over 2,180 health workers and community outreach workers are ready and will support the campaign. Campaign will be delivered through 392 fixed points and almost 300 mobile teams. This is a massive operation. The security, of course, is paramount.
And to talk more about that story, we are joined by Dr. S. Samuel C. Rajiv, who's a research fellow at the IDSA. Thank you, Dr. Samuel, for joining us. Both Netanyahu and Joe Biden have made rhetorical statements saying that we will hit back. Netanyahu going on saying that Biden saying those who have committed for this crime will pay for it. Netanyahu says that we will not leave them. Is it mere rhetoric, aimed at domestic audience, or could we see some kind of retribution?
Yes, Mr. Singh, thank you for having me. I think this is a recent development has been, sort of put the spanner in the works in terms of a hostage deal, which was being very robustly negotiated by the Americans along with the Qataris and the Egyptians. As all of us are aware, President Biden had put forward a 3-phase, ceasefire deal in end May 2024 that required the end to, hostilities and release of hostages in phases, ending with the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. Since May, there have been many rounds of negotiations, but obviously Israel has also upped the ante. It has taken out most of the Hamas senior leadership, but they're not able to get at Yahya Sinwar, who was purportedly the main mastermind behind the October 7, 2023 ghastly terrorist attacks. So I think going forward, I think it remains to be seen how both sides will react to this latest development. The hostage negotiations right now, it'll be definitely impacted because of this latest development, because Prime Minister Netanyahu is accusing the Hamas of not being in a position to accept this hostage deal, ceasefire deal.
Exactly. Netanyahu says whoever murders hostages does not want a deal. So the question is, does this development, does this killing of hostages at this stage put the deal, the already elusive deal, in jeopardy?
Well, I think because I think it's important to note that Israel has been, mounting raids in the Gaza Strip to get these hostages out. Latest reports say there are about more than 100 of them still, in captivity. But even among this 100, at least 1/3 of them, Israel admits are actually dead. So Israel has in fact mounted some raids to get back some of these dead bodies also. So essentially, there are about 70 odd living hostages. And most of the Hamas infrastructure has been destroyed. Most of the Hamas leadership is dead, except Yahya Sinwar and a few others. So, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has always stated that the goal of this military operation, the Israeli military operation in the Gaza Strip, is the total destruction of the Hamas. He's termed it that Israel is pursuing what is termed as a total victory. But President Biden and others have said that this is a vague term. This is not it can't be defined in very concrete terms. So there has to be an end to hostilities, but the Israeli leadership has been insisting that the hostages have to be, brought out from the Gaza Strip. So I think this is 11 months now into this bloody war. Thousands of people have been dead. The war is now expanded. There is a lot of to Israel's northern borders also. Recently, there were rockets exchanged. More than 100 Israeli aircraft, undertook a mission inside Lebanon to take out the Hezbollah rocket launch pads.
No,
Uh,
that's right. May I stop you here, Dr. Samuel? My question is that
yeah.
does it put pressure on Netanyahu now to act further? And why would the Hamas be doing it at this critical juncture? Does it give them any negotiating edge? Because they could have hoped that perhaps he would, Netanyahu would buckle under pressure and say, okay, give me the hostages, I'll give you a ceasefire. How could it play out? Could Netanyahu now even further harden his position and put the deal in a jeopardy?
So I think military objectives, I think, are very limited, except the hostages. There's not much that the IDF can now achieve, in the Gaza Strip, because the Gaza Strip is a rubble now. The entire underground, the tunnels infrastructure has also been destroyed. Most of the leadership of Hamas has been killed. So I think this seems to me like a blip, because these were, hostages who were, reportedly killed before they were rescued. So, but the Hamas has been saying that these hostages have been killed as a result of the Israeli air raids and Israeli attacks. So we don't know for sure that how these people have been killed. Recently, there was a live hostage who was rescued, a Bedouin hostage who was rescued, and a week before and 10 days before, there were again bodies were recovered. So I think going forward, I think this is the only leverage that the hostages are the only people who are, the Israelis are saying these are the people that we want back. These are our people. They've been, captured, in a terrorist attack on our country. So unless we get these hostages back, the Israeli Prime Minister and his leadership have been saying we will not stop the IDF operation inside the Gaza Strip. So, but then these hostages are the only leverage for the Hamas. So, to the extent that they can hold on to, and really a deal that, in the hope of a deal that it's acceptable to them, because it's important to note the Hamas
Okay.
saying there has to be a total cessation of hostilities. But the Israelis are saying we won't, reduce the hostility. Sorry,
We wouldn't stop
stop
we won't
the
ceasefire
operation.
unless you
The
agree to the
hostages.
deal on our terms. Okay,
Yes, yes.
so both sides are playing their cards, seeing how they can best get a deal to their favor. Let's talk about Netanyahu. For him, what does this mean? It puts him in a tough spot, really, because now the families of the hostages, remaining hostages, have further intensified their campaign, saying, oh, Netanyahu failed us. In fact, I was just reading Yoav Gallant's statement, the Minister of Defense's statement. He says the cabinet must gather immediately and reverse the decision made on Thursday. It's too late for the hostages who were murdered in cold blood. We must get back the hostages that are still being held by Hamas. So clearly, there are divisions emerging within the parliament, within the war cabinet of Netanyahu. He fighting with his security chiefs. They having different views on how the deal should go.
You're absolutely right. I think this, if you look at it in that perspective, I think this development actually puts Netanyahu on the back foot, because there is a lot of public anger that the charge that the prime minister is pursuing a war at the expense of Israeli citizens who are there still being held hostage. So, and you've pointed out the statements of his war cabinet, members. So I think this will really place the burden on Netanyahu to agree to the terms of the Hamas. But the point to note here is Prime Minister Netanyahu has accepted the terms of the ceasefire deal. The President Biden's ceasefire agreement, the May 31st, 2024 agreement, Prime Minister Netanyahu has accepted that. The Hamas has not accepted that. The UN Security Council has accepted President Biden's proposal in a resolution it passed on July 10th. So it's essentially, and there was many negotiations which have been held subsequent to these developments. But the Hamas has not been on board. Hamas has been, insisting that there has to be a complete stop to Israeli hostilities. And even recently now there is some report which saying that the terms of the deal have been further refined, with Prime Minister Netanyahu insisting that there has to be some sort of screening of those Palestinians who have been displaced from the northern Gaza Strip. For them to return, he wants a screening mechanism. And there is also an argument about Israeli military presence on the what is termed as the Philadelphia corridor with the border with Egypt. Prime Minister Netanyahu says this corridor has to have an Israeli military presence because again, if Israelis are not there, then that will be used to smuggle weapons, and then in the future again could lead to attacks on Israel. So these are some of the sticking points. But it remains to be seen how things pan out. But both sides are now at the back foot, obviously, because it's been 11 months now, but an essential point to note is the Israelis are not able to get the relevant military targets now. They've bombed more than 60,000 targets in the Gaza Strip. Almost all the Hamas leadership is wiped out. So I think it's a waiting game. As Secretary of State Blinken was pointing out, time is of the essence because otherwise even the remaining hostages will be dead.
Okay. So the safety of the hostages is at stake. Is
Yes.
it really possible to decimate the Hamas as Netanyahu claims his military objective is?
Yes, that's a very important point because this is an organization that is a part of the population, and which has been, quotes within quotes occupied for so many decades. So and it's very difficult, to remove each and every radical member of an organization which feels they've been discriminated against, they've been ruled against their wishes. So I think the point being, as the war, stands at this current juncture, in 11 months, most of the Hamas's overground infrastructure has been decimated. The underground infrastructure has also been largely decimated. So I think Hamas as an organization is essentially almost non-existent, except the leadership, and Yahya Sinwar has still not been captured. So I think the point to note here is Sinwar's capture is actually, if you look at it that way, is what is holding back a hostage deal. If Yahya Sinwar is killed or is captured, I think within the next few minutes you'll have a hostage deal. So and even the Americans are apparently helping the Israelis in trying to track down Sinwar. So if he is captured, I think that will now put an end to the fighting.
All right. Why would Joe Biden make that statement saying that we will, those who committed this crime will have to pay for it? Was it because Goldberg Polin, if that's the name of the Israeli Americans, his parents, addressed the DNC there? So is he looking just at his domestic constituency? Secondly, what does it mean for American elections with Trump already saying, well, these people couldn't get a deal, these people couldn't stop the war?
Yes, I think that's a very important, foreign policy, issue domestically for the Americans also, especially now that an American citizen has been killed. A few months ago, in fact, the parents of this hostage, Mr. Goldberg Polin, put out a video, and there was a lot of media attention to that video. They was trying to put pressure on the Israeli government to help secure Israelis. But now that he's been killed, it's obviously a lot of domestic repercussions. The Republicans are going to use it in their campaign efforts against the Democrats, because this is obviously they'll portray this as a negative foreign policy event for the Democratic democratic administration. So I think because of the American citizen was involved, and also there was a Russian citizen who was involved, who was killed. There was a Russian citizen, Russian Israeli citizen who was part of the 6 people who were killed. So, but mostly I think now it's a lot of women and children also. That at least 1/3 of them are women and children, non-combatants. There are some Israeli soldiers also a part of the hostages. So I think it's a tricky situation. But as I pointed out, I think Israel want to get back at the person who's responsible for this attack, and they hold Yahya Sinwar, squarely responsible. So and to the extent that I'm not sure if there are any other hostages of other nationalities involved. If there are, I think then there'll be a bigger headache for the administration of President Joe Biden also, because that will be a negative, seen as a negative foreign policy, effort on their part.
Right. Yahya Sinwar, you say, is what the prize catch, the most sought after man for both the Americans and the Israelis, more so for the Israelis because they are fighting the war really. But nobody knows where Yahya Sinwar is. They don't even know whether he's in the strip or is he out of the strip.
Yes. So the Israelis have killed his deputy, Mohammed Daif, recently. They have killed most of the Hamas leadership. You could be right. He's perhaps gone out of the strip also, but the only way he could go out was through the Egypt border. But then the Egyptians will be aware of where he is. The Egyptian intelligence chief is part of the ceasefire negotiations along with the Prime Minister of Qatar and Secretary of State Blinken. So I think because there is no, I think the only face-saving formula, it remains to be seen, especially and even now after so many thousands have been killed. It's difficult for us to say this, but it looks like the Israelis and the Americans will reinforce their efforts to get at Sinwar, and once they get him, so I think it looks like they could
That's
be
an
some.
interesting point that you make, Dr. Samuel, because that the Egyptians would know. Because the only way, if he's already escaped the strip, is through those underground tunnels that connect into Egypt, that open up into Egypt. So the Egyptians would know. The question then is, would the Egyptians be amenable to handing him over or giving leads to his whereabouts to the Americans or the Israelis?
Yes, I think they will be amenable if the terms of the ceasefire deal is as per their interest. Israelis also want to occupy the Gaza Strip, but the Americans themselves have very explicitly stated that they're totally opposed to the permanent occupation of the Gaza Strip by Israelis. So that's one absolute no for the Americans and for the Egyptians also. And remember, we should note that the Israelis came out of the Gaza Strip in 2005, and after they came out, it's because of the linkage with the Gaza Strip with the Sinai border that Hamas was able to replenish itself with offensive weapons with which it sort of mounted attacks on Israel. So the Israelis are insisting that they will have some control over the Gaza-Egypt border. So, but as you have pointed out, so unless if the terms of the deal are amenable to the Egyptians and to the Qataris through and to the Hamas, obviously, because the Egyptians and the Qataris are in touch with the Hamas. So then I think going forward, Sinwar can, is actually a pawn in the game. So, if you look at it that way, yeah.
But say, hypothetically, assuming Sinwar falls, what happens to Hamas? What is the future of Hamas? You say, most of its top leadership has been eliminated. Who's running the Al Qasim Brigade then?
So, it's the Israelis have this policy of targeted killings, and there've been anybody. So before Sinwar, there was somebody else, and before some. So they taken out, for instance, the head of the Hamas. The founder of Hamas, who was in a wheelchair, he was coming out of Friday prayers. He was over 90 years old. So they've taken out all these high value targets over the years, but people have been filling up their places. But now I think the amount of destruction, the massive amount of destruction in the Gaza Strip, thousands of people have been killed. So I think it's very difficult for Hamas. And also you should note that Hamas was a terrorist organization which had the entire population of Gaza as hostages. So it had in fact overthrew a democratically elected Palestinian National Authority government in 2005 on the elections, 2007, and then it took over the strip. So the population of Gaza itself was a hostage to the Hamas's activities. So now that most of the leadership has
Really?
been dead,
But hadn't the Hamas won the elections?
yes, but it won the elections, defeating the Palestinian National Authority.
The Fatah,
The Fatah,
defeating the
yes.
Fatah.
Yeah, yes, but the problem being, it is now after this October 7, 2023 attacks, it'll be very difficult for the Hamas now to get public support from the Gaza population because of the massive amount of destruction, massive loss of lives. Now they will surely the Gaza population will surely not allow Hamas to function as prior to October 7, 2023. Perhaps other militant organizations will take the Hamas's place because obviously this is a complex conflict with Israel that the Palestinians believe can only be won through the gun because the two-state solution is going nowhere. So obviously there will be some other perhaps entities which will take over the Hamas. But then now, after so much has happened in the past 11 months, it's inconceivable to think that Israelis and the Palestinians will not have to be will not do something to go forward on negotiations for some sort of a deal. Perhaps a two-state solution is too far away, but some sort of administrative control and even security control for the Palestinians. And in fact, the UN Security Council resolution that was passed in the aftermath of President Biden's ceasefire proposal explicitly notes that the Gaza Strip and the West Bank have to be, geographically, linked
Brought it
together.
into continuity with the West Bank.
Yes, so that is an essential part of any proposal that will have to take care of the Palestinian needs going forward, because otherwise these two strips, strips of land with Palestinians on them, with Israel in the middle, this is untenable for the Palestinians. So I think there could be a lot of permutations and combinations going forward, but all we can hope is after so much of death and destruction, there has to be some forward movement in terms of the political issues that have bedeviled this the Palestinian cause for so many decades.
Okay. All right. My last question before I let go of you, Dr. Samuel. What happens to the vaccination drive which began today? Do you think that will continue?
Yes, Mr. Singh. I think that should continue, and both sides have agreed to this. And because the health emergency, there was some case I think that was detected. So going forward, hopefully this kind of pauses will be used to increase the humanitarian aid that can reach the people of Gaza also.
All right. We'll leave it there. Many thanks, Dr. Samuel, Samuel C. Rajiv, for joining us and lending us your insights on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
And still to come on DD India Newsa, amid the ongoing tensions, Taiwan detects 10 Chinese military aircraft, 9 naval vessels around the nation. United Nations says it will continue to engage with all stakeholders in Afghanistan, including the Taliban. And thousands of Australians without power as heavy rain, damaging winds lash Tasmania.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon, and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest, too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
A land so enchanting. It makes time stand still.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Ukraine launched waves of drone attacks targeting power plants and refinery near Moscow, sparking fires, while more than 150 drones were destroyed across other parts of the country. Drone debris caused fires at Moscow oil refinery and at the Konakovo power station in neighboring Tver region, one of the largest energy producers in central Russia. Russia's defense ministry said its air defense units had destroyed 158 drones launched by Ukraine overnight, including 9 over Moscow and its surrounding region. Moscow mayor said that several drones targeted the Moscow refinery and caused a fire at a separate technical room at the plant. State news agency TASS later quoted emergency services as saying that the blaze had been contained. At least one person was killed and 4 others injured in Russian shelling on Ukraine's Sumy region on the border between the two countries. This comes as Russia makes sweeping advances that threaten to outweigh the gains made by Ukraine in its cross-border attack into the Kursk region. Russian forces claim to be a few kilometers away from the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk, home to a key railway station and major roads. Pokrovsk is an essential supply and reinforcement point for Ukraine's troops on the eastern front line. The battle for Pokrovsk is a continuation of the conflict with Avdiivka, which Ukraine lost in February after months of fighting. Avdiivka, which is about 40 kilometers south of Pokrovsk, was seen as a fortress that protected the settlements and roads to its west, helping to bolster Ukraine's presence along the entire front line. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky increased the pressure on the United States to let Kyiv strike deeper into Russian territory after his representatives met senior U.S. officials in Washington on Saturday. Appealing to the United States, Britain, France, Germany, Zelensky said that they need the capabilities to truly and fully protect Ukraine and the citizens of the country.
Clearing the Ukrainian sky of Russian-guided aerial bombs is a strong step to force Russia to seek an end to the war and just a peace. I appeal to the United States, the United Kingdom, France and Germany. We need the capabilities to truly and fully protect Ukraine and Ukrainians. We need both the permissions of long-range capabilities and your long-range shells and missiles.
Moving on to Germany now. Germans head to the polls in 2 eastern states on Sunday, with the far-right AfD on track to win the state election for the first time, and Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition set to receive a drubbing just a year before the federal elections. The alternative for Germany is polling first on 30% in Thuringia and neck with conservatives in Saxony on 30 to 32%. A win would mark the first time a far-right party has the most seats in a German state parliament since World War II. The 11-year-old party would be unlikely to form the government, even if it does win, as it is polling short of majority and other parties refuse to collaborate with it. Poland's leaders stressed the need for a strong defense in the face of a war in neighboring Ukraine and a redress as they led ceremonies to mark the 85th anniversary of German Nazi forces invading and bombing Poland at the start of World War II. The Polish president and the deputy ambassador of Germany attended an observance on Sunday in the town of Wieluń, the first civilian target of German bombing on September 1, 1939. Meanwhile, at a monument on the Westerplatte Peninsula, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and the country's defense minister attended a memorial roll call for fallen soldiers. Poland lost 6 million citizens during the German occupation. Spanish Coast Guard on Saturday rescued 249 migrants off the Canary Islands of El Hierro and Gran Canaria. The Coast Guard vessels towed a wooden boat with 174 immigrants at the La Restinga port in El Hierro. Another boat carrying 75 people arrived earlier on Saturday to the port of Arguineguin in the island of Gran Canaria. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited West Africa last week, aiming to curb migration to the Canary Islands and to counter the Russian presence in the Sahel region. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris on Saturday fiercely criticized the former President Donald Trump for using his visit to Arlington National Cemetery as a political stunt. Harris condemned Trump's appearance, calling it disrespectful act against the sacred ground. This critique followed Trump's participation in a wreath-laying ceremony and his visit to Section 60 hallowed area of restricted from political activities. Trump's campaign captured footage from the visit for promotional purposes, igniting controversy. Trump addressed while addressing a gathering in Pennsylvania on Friday, claimed that families of the fallen soldiers of Afghanistan had requested his visit.
And while I was there, those families that asked me to be there, as they said, 3 families plus 1 soldier who was horrifically injured, both legs and an arm. And they asked me if I would be there, so I went. And while we were there, they said, could you take pictures over the grave of my son, my sister, my brother? Would you take pictures with us, sir? I said, absolutely, I did. And then I said farewell. I said goodbye. And last night I read that I was using the site to politic, that I used it to politic. This all comes out of Washington.
A Mexican district judge has issued a temporary ban on lower house of Congress discussing a contentious judicial reform until September 4th. The reform, which suggests electing 7,000 judges by a popular vote and restructuring the judiciary, faces criticism from unions who want it could threaten labor rights and invite criminal influence. However, Morena's leader in the lower house, Ricardo Monreal, has dismissed the order, highlighting a possible conflict between the judiciary and the lawmakers. Both President Lopez Obrador and President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum backed the reform, claiming it's crucial for tackling corruption and impunity. The Afro-Cubans celebrated the 3rd annual Afro Hair Contest on Saturday. Participants showcased a dazzling array of curls and natural hairstyles to honor their African roots. Women, men and children participated in Havana and walked on a makeshift red carpet amid rain that did not spoil the competitors' hairstyles. Contestants displayed braids and free-flowing curls before the jury that valued the competitors of the hair, health, creativity and aesthetics. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense detected 10 PLA aircraft, 7 Chinese Navy vessels and 12 official ships operating around the nation up until 6 a.m. on Sunday. 6 of the 10 PLA aircraft detected crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait. According to media reports, so far in August, Taiwan detected Chinese military aircraft 535 times and ships 289 times. Since December 2020, China has intensified its use of grey zone areas and grey zone tactics by increasing the number of military the military aircraft and naval vessels operating near Taiwan. China has increased its military activities around Taiwan, including regular air and naval incursions into Taiwan's ADZ and military exercises near the island. Spokesperson for the UN Secretary General reaffirmed the United Nations commitment to the ongoing engagement with all stakeholders in Afghanistan, including the Taliban-led interim government. And the remarks of the UN spokesperson came while he attended a press conference on Saturday. The spokesman for the UN Secretary General also called on the interim government of Afghanistan to open more avenues for diplomatic engagement. Notably, the UN mission in Afghanistan had expressed deep concern on August 25th regarding the new morality law imposed by Afghanistan's de facto authorities. Some weather-related updates now. Tropical cyclone Shanshan downgraded from a typhoon. It left 7 people dead and widespread damage as it churned off the Pacific coast of central Japan on Sunday. The Japan Meteorological Agency continued to warn of landslides, floods and rising water levels in the rivers in western and eastern Japan, citing increased increased risks due to ground loosening from record-breaking rainfall since the storm hit the southern coast city of on Thursday. Tens of thousands of people in Australia's Tasmania state were left without power after a cold front brought damaging winds and the heavy rain sparkling food warnings. Around 30,000 customers are without power across the state. The nation's weather forecaster said that a cold front over Tasmania, although bands of showers and thunderstorms continue to pose a risk of damaging wind gusts. Let's now take a look at what else made news around the world. Contestants from all over the Netherlands gathered in the central village of Poolsbroekerdam for the yearly national Vaarjeppen or canal vaulting contest. Over 2,000 people gathered to watch 40 competitors across 5 territories or categories, compelling to vault the greatest distance across the water using a pole. Norway's Princess Martha Louise married her long-term partner, American spiritual guru Durek, in a ceremony attended by Norwegian king and other royalty. The wedding was the culmination of 3 days of festivities to honor Princess Martha IV and her spouse after the couple first announced their relationship in 2019. Pope Francis is expected to visit Istiqlal Mosque in Indonesian capital city of Jakarta in a bid to push the interfaith harmony during the Asia-Pacific Hour. The 28.3 meter tunnel of friendship links Southeast Asia's largest mosque to the cathedral built by Indonesian government in 2020 as a symbol of religious harmony. Still to come up on DD India News Hour, respite for Gujarat from rains as cyclone Asna moves westward. and Iga Swiatek cruises into the 4th round of the US Open.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome to the fascinating world of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. India's President Draupadi Murmu is attending the closing ceremony of the National District Judiciary Conference in the national capital. The Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, Union Minister for Law and Justice Arjun Ram Meghwal are present on the occasion. The two-day conference was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday. India's Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav on Sunday unveiled the prototype version of the Vande Bharat sleeper coach at the Bharat Earth Movers Limited facility. The Indian Railway Minister laid the foundation stone for a new Vande Bharat manufacturing facility of the BEML premises. He also laid the foundation stone for a new hangar facility spanning 9.2 crores near BEML's Bangalore complex of the southern Indian state of Karnataka. Earlier, the Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav conducted an inspection of Vande Bharat Express, the train sleeper coach, on Sunday. The inspection was conducted at Bharat Earth Movers Limited, a railway transportation company in the Bangalore city. The minister said that the passenger operation of Vande Bharat sleeper coach is expected in 3 months.
We should expect passenger operation in about 3 months from now. About 3 months from now, we should expect. This is a sleeper version. This is completely sleeper, like Rajdhani, fully sleeper version. This will be practically an overnight journey. So this will be good for distances which are about 800 kilometers to 1200 kilometers. Lots of care has been taken in maintaining the oxygen level in the coaches. Lots of care has been taken in maintaining the removing the viruses which come, because we have learnt during the COVID period. So learning on all that, lots of virus prevention features are there.
With heavy rainfall impacting many parts of southern Indian state of Telangana for the past 2 days, the state's Chief Minister A. Revanth Reddy held a teleconference with Deputy Chief Ministers and other senior officials. He also urged them to remain vigilant around the clock to promptly undertake rescue and relief operations. The state government has established a special control room in the Secretariat to monitor and manage the situation. Residents in low-lying areas have been advised to exercise extreme caution to ensure their safety and well-being. Schools in Hyderabad and Telangana will remain closed on Monday as the state braces for more rain in the coming week. Movements of passenger trains came to a grinding halt on Sunday as Secunderabad-Vijayawada route, the railway tracks washed away due to heavy rain at different places in the districts. And DD India correspondent Ravi Shankar Modigonda joins us live from Guntur in Andhra Pradesh for more updates. Give us a sense of how what is the rain situation right now?
Yeah, good evening. This is the highest rainfall in the past 50 years, as per the words of CM Chandrababu Naidu, we can say. And if you see the total abstract of Andhra Pradesh, in Vatsavai, it was recorded 32.3 centimeters highest rainfall in a single day. So this is the highest possible in the past 50 years. And in 14 mandals of Andhra Pradesh, 20 centimeters average, which is a flooded rainfall of Andhra Pradesh, you can say, it was recorded. And the national highways, especially from Vijayawada to Hyderabad and Vijayawada to Chennai, all the national highways got submerged, which caused, especially the transport, very much like anything. And the State Emergency Operations Center was erected in Amaravati, which is the capital of Andhra Pradesh. And from there, Chandrababu Naidu and the Disaster Management Minister, Vangalpudi Anita, they are monitoring the situation minute to minute, and they are extending their services to instructions to the officials, and which is making some more comfort to the general public. And the NDRF and SDRF teams, these are very activated, and at about 13,227 people from the lower areas, they were shifted from 294 villages, they were shifted to at about 100 rehabilitation centers, which were arranged by the state government. And at about 62,000 hectares of paddy, as well as 7,200 of horticulture crops were damaged as per the basic statistics, you can say. And passengers from this Tamil Nadu Express, it was stopped at Rayanpadu railway station because of some technical issues, and so the total passengers were shifted to their destinations with the alternate arrangements by state government. So this is the abstract of 2 days heavy rainfall of Andhra Pradesh.
All right. Thank you, Ravi Shankar, for giving us this detailed output. And bringing a sense of relief to the residents of Indian state of Gujarat, the Indian Meteorological Department has reported that cyclone Asna, which was earlier looming over northeast Arabian Sea, has moved westwards and is now 310 in Gujarat, the kilometers west of Nalia in Gujarat. It is likely to continue moving away from the Indian coast over the next 24 hours. The Met Department also predicted no heavy rainfall in the days to come, coming 5 days. Meanwhile, after days of continuous rainfall, Gujarat has seen a significant reduction in rain over the past 24 hours. The state had recently endured heavy rainfall over the past 4 days, resulting in over 30 deaths across Gujarat. The heavy rains might have caused significant damage to the infrastructure in response to floods. Rescue operations have been carried out by the Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard and the local police, of course. And DD India's correspondent Parth Pandya joins us live from Ahmedabad for more on this story. Parth, first of all, give us what the sense on the ground is, because the reports we are getting sitting here in Delhi is that things are getting better and better by the hour.
Yes, Amripal, things are getting better because since last 24-30 hours, there has been no rainfall recorded, almost no rainfall. Only 2 places of Gujarat, that is the Mandvi of Kutch and Surat, received almost 25 mm, that is 1 inch of rain only. So things are getting better because the water are residing back, and especially the Vadodara, where almost 70-75% city was submerged into the rainwater. It is getting clear day by day. Army, NDRF, STRF and local administration is constantly working round the clock to help and assist the common man to get out of this situation, and almost just 10-15% places is right now submerged into the water, and it is also residing back. So yes, we can say in upcoming 10 to 12 hours almost, and in maximum 24 hours, things will be normal. But what is important is the situation of farmers. See, this time in Gujarat, it is the time of the farming of corn, the cash crops. Almost 60% of the crop has been devastated due to this such rain. So almost, I was looking in the situation. Only Panchmahal districts, if we consider only Panchmahal district, one district of the Gujarat, more than 30 crore rupees loss is there endured by the farmers. So a big loss for the farmers. State Department and the Agriculture Department, the Ministry of Gujarat is constantly working that how the package will be structured and how will it be distributed among the farmers. Number one. Number two, the relief situation in the Vadodara is also getting tough and tough day by day, because things are getting tough, because a lot of people has recorded a great loss of whether it is their home, whether it is their business, their shops, everything was submerged. So it was a big loss for the common man of the Vadodara. So relief situations are going on one side. On another side, the NDRF, Army, SDRF are working day and night in the Mandvi and the Kutch region, because it was also submerged and the road was disturbed. So the repairing work by the local administration is going on also in that area too.
All right, we leave it there. Parth, thank you very much for joining us and giving us that update. You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. Let's take a look at all the updates from the Paris Paralympics. Now let's take a look at the latest updates coming from the ongoing Paris Olympic Games. India's para shuttler Mandeep Kaur lost to Nigeria's Mariam Inoila Bolaj in Western women's singles women's singles SL3 group event on Sunday. The Indian shuttler just failed to match the intensity of Mariam produced a stellar performance to win 21-8, 21-9 in just 23 minutes. Another Indian shuttler, Palak Kohli, suffered 19-21, 15-21 defeat in the Khali Matis Sadia in women's singles SL4 quarterfinals and crashed out of the competition. Palak did put up a good fight but failed to get over in the line against Sadia, who was just a notch better than her in the clash. Shuttler Manish Ramadas disqualified for the semi-finals of the women's singles SU5 category. Ramadas won in straight games 21-13, 21-16 against Mamiko Toyoda of Japan. World number one Iga Swiatek cruised into the fourth round of the US Open on Saturday, becoming the 27th ranked Anastasia Pavlyuchova 6-4, 6-2. Swiatek broke the opening game on the way to a 3-1 lead, but his opponent dug in to keep her in her sight, holding the serve in in 4 deuce games to pull within 4-3. And that's all in this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from DD India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that you see on your screens right now to download. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh. From my entire team here in Delhi, thank you for watching.